Hey guys, I've got a quick update on this 77 yellow 242 project. I haven't really made a lot of videos about it. It wasn't really much to do so far. I was just kind of driving it around, like short distances, and it's been running good. It was currently my only running K-Jet car, and it ran pretty well. It's just like really filthy in and out, and the paint was kind of shot, but it ran good for K-Jet. And then it started having these weird cold start problems, and I pulled it into the driveway, and eventually it just shut off completely. So I took it apart. I've got it apart right now, and we're gonna go ahead and see what's going on. I pulled out the transfer tube that goes between the air meter and the throttle body. That's what produces vacuum. Well, the engine produces vacuum, but the boot is what helps lift the air meter, and the air meter lifts and provides a signal to the fuel distributor to shoot fuel into the cylinders. But yeah, so that once that boot's torn, the air meter can't lift, and therefore the armature cannot push against the top of the fuel distributor and cause the have the fuel come out. So it was completely torn, and there's a big reason behind that, and I'll show you what happened. So the fuel distributor and the airflow meter here, they are mounted to the block. There's brackets attached to the block itself, and they're mounted in 3 spots. And when I got the car, it was completely loose, just like that. And the mounts had actually split apart. So we've got, you're supposed to go like that. And yeah, so the rubber had split apart completely, and one of them was just completely missing. So right, so yeah, I've got new mounts on there, and it's kind of hard to get to. There's 3 of them, and there's 2 back here, you can see, and then there's the one up in the front right there, and these just thread in to the airflow sender, and then there's a nut and a washer that bolts it to the bracket right there. Anyways, so I had to get to that, and I couldn't get to the 3rd one that's back there because this car originally had some sort of EGR system, and the previous owner had plugged it up with, I'm not sure what it is, but EGR pipe goes all the way around, and then comes into the back of the exhaust manifold here. So I'm gonna have to plug that up for good. There's another side of it on the intake manifold, and it looks like what they did was they just pinched it off. So I'll have to probably weld up a block off plate or something there. I have another intake manifold that does not have the EGR, so I might just swap that over, but the entire manifold had to be taken out to actually access the fuel distributor area. But now that I've got the new mounts on, I'm realizing that there hasn't been a lot of maintenance done on this car. Everything's just kind of really gross, and I'm just gonna slowly start to clean up around here, get the grease off of it, and shine it up just a little bit. Another thing is pretty much all the vacuum hoses looked like this. They're just kind of dry rotted out, and this is a vacuum pump, which I think has something to do with the 1977 EGR thing, and it's not working. I had to unbolt it to get to the nuts for the intake manifold, but there's supposed to be some sort of armature here that is actuated by the camshaft, and as you can see, the armature is missing, so I'm not sure if it's somewhere under the valve cover, but either way, this wasn't working, so I'll have to redo a bunch of these vacuum lines in order to get it to work the way it should. But yeah, that's just a short update on on the 77 242 here. It was running up to that point. The intake boot here had completely torn, and I think it was because whenever the engine's on and this was flexing, it would you know, tear on that rubber, and eventually the rubber tore completely to where the airflow sender couldn't read any sort of vacuum, and yeah, and then it stopped running. But we're gonna clean this up, and hopefully I don't mess anything up and everything gets back where it should. All right, so I've got the engine kind of cleaned up a little, and I still need to reroute some of the vacuum lines here. This one I think should go to the climate control. This one I think I'm gonna have it remain plugged off. This was one of the vacuum lines that went over to this auxiliary air pump that no longer works, and this went to over to this, I think it's like the thermal wax switch that's back there behind the warm-up regulator right there. That's all part of like emission stuff, and since the previous owner, as I showed, had ripped out the EGR system, you know, haphazardly, I'm not going to be needing that. Interesting thing about this distributor is it's all breakerless, and this one actually has a advance and a retard vacuum line. So those two need to be routed in, and then it needs to be also routed into the PCV or the crankcase charcoal canister. So I think that's all set up now. But I've went ahead and rerouted the brake booster to this fitting that I got off another manifold. Originally, the brake booster had to go all the way through and again use the auxiliary air pump, but since I will not be using that now, I went ahead and shortened the brake booster vacuum line, and I went ahead and put a new check valve on there too. And then as far as the let's see here, the remaining EGR stuff, again, the EGR valve was already taken off, and this was just kind of crimped down. I went ahead and welded it shut, so there shouldn't be any sort of vacuum leaks there. And I did clean off the this intake manifold as well as I could. Yeah, I just kind of did a quick job with it. And then over here was the other side of the EGR. If you remember, this pipe went all the way around behind the intake manifold and the engine, and this is how they had plugged it off. I think it's just a bolt in there. Anyways, I went ahead and took that out and took the it's pretty filthy back here, took the fitting and welded that shut as well, so there shouldn't be any sort of exhaust leaks at all, and I get rid of that pipe. I will probably be doing a little cleanup here on this motor. It's pretty filthy, so I'm gonna go ahead and just delete the vacuum pump altogether. And just to plug off this hole that goes into the camshaft, I made this little gasket out of some bulk gasket material, and I just made this block off plate, and I think I have enough threads there. Yeah, I should just be able to put a washer on and then bolt that on tight. And then we'll go ahead and see if it leaks and if everything starts up well. And this is probably not the best solution for the crankcase, but you know, it's just what I've got going on right now, so it doesn't just spew everywhere. And I did have to plug off the air box as well, just because there used to be this hose that goes from here over to the air box. I think it teed into the EGR stuff somehow, but again, you know, I just got rid of a lot of vacuum stuff that I'm not going to need. All right, let's fire it up. is on a cold motor. So the original boot that came with the car was completely split, like right here. I tossed that, and this was the first replacement boot that I had. And at first the car would not start, and just all because of this small tear. So the boot on there is actually the third boot that I have right now. And it seems to be holding up okay. These things are just old and they don't last very long, and you know, unfortunately this one's trash, even though it's such a small tear. So yeah, everything seems to be working. It was a easy cold start. I'll probably check the hot start and make sure everything's still working correctly in that regard as well. Idle seems a little high. It might come down after it warms up, and it doesn't look like it's leaking from the block-off plate that I made. And you know, I think I still need to reroute the interior vacuum lines, and there's some other issues that kind of prevent me from driving more pleasantly. Like shifter bushings are completely gone, so that's going to probably be my next mission here, is to fix that up and make the shifter not so floppy and stuff. But yeah, it's running good for now, and you know, it's super hot. I'm gonna go inside and I'll update you on this car next time. Also, if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Alright, so unfortunately the plate that I made, it is that covers up the auxiliary air pump. It does leak a little, so I'll have to take it off and probably put some RTV or some Honda Bond or something in between, and then try it again and see if that works. But that's a little disappointing, but I think, you know, we can get that fixed up.